Now the first thing that I'm going to show you on Tier A is the defensive wave. Really not complicated. Keep the Widow X down there so that the drones spawn out on the wall. Keep some buildings there to create last stand defenders. And your base defenses will get hit a little bit, but you'll be able to take out the Archangel with no base platoon repair, and that's what you're really looking for. So let's just get it over with. I leave the Ronin up there because it's always going to come around this corner, so the Ronin gets some cheap shots on it. I have Viper room running, VIP room. It's going after my power plants. And it's dead. Keep the Ronin away from that. Since this is free, you might as well run it down there and create some damage. And that's it. Pretty simple. Yeah, the Archangel hit some stuff in there, but it repairs in an hour or less. Repairs. And as you see, that's what you're looking for. 0 base platoon repairs, so you can concentrate on all of your other tanks to get them repaired. This is the level 70 Tier A hideout. I am running the Scorpion King op, and this is how I plan on getting through this. 8 Scorchers. Let's take these over here. These Scorchers are maxed out. They have the extra powder on them. You really need that extra range. If you haven't gotten them yet, you should get them in the event. Extra powders give you 440 range, I believe, on your Scorchers. You're going to need every bit of it. Take 3 Scorpions over here, because Scorpions are what's going to distract the Warhorse. So just leave them here, because you want to come behind it with the Scorchers. You don't pay, you don't have to repair the Scorpions, so they are what you want to get hit. That's about as far as you want to get. If you get any closer, the Warhorse will turn around to go after them. Separate them up. And attack them. And that's one dead squirrel. Pull them back. We're going to use these in a little while to corrode up those special forces a little bit. Make life a little easier for the Banshees. They're going to run along the side of the wall or they're going to get shot. That's a heavy gunner that has, the 500 range. Stick those over here. Now get everything nice and corroded. Fly these like you normally would, because you want those on the outside. As soon as they start getting fired at, attack them. That's all she wrote. As you see, you can do the hideout on Tier A with no missiles, which is important. You can't use missiles on every, or you want to limit the amount you're using, because you already have bases that you're going to have to use 2 to 3 of them. So this was no missiles, you use the Scorpion King op, and you get absolutely 0 repair time. Very simple. Alright, we're going to start here with the level 75 Cave Wave. I'm running Scorpion King as usual. This will take 2 Scorpion King attacks. So we're going to start with the first one, and then I'm going to move on to other bases that I can do while I'm waiting for the cooldown. You can bring it over here. Just remember to keep it moving. You want to knock out these bunkers. You want to get rid of the bunkers and get rid of the shock turrets. If you have time, if you can stay away from the ones that are going to chase you and knock out the power plants, so much the better. Alright, this is the most you're going to get out of that one. This is all you have left, so you're just going to end the attack. I will come back to this attack in a moment. Alright, so I finished the hideout, or the convoy. So now we're going to go back for the second round on the cave base that we started earlier.
You don't have to worry about the flood turret, I mean the storms, because you're not bringing any air in, so they're basically just fodder. I'm going to bring in these. Since you have a little bit left over, make sure you corrode them all. It'll help for when you go to kill them. Alright, everybody's dead. Now I use a Guardian in front of 4 Scorchers. You could, well, I would always suggest having Scorchers. I told everybody to make sure they got them for the event. But you could use hover tanks and skirt around a Vanquisher. If you've noticed with the war horses, they have a hard time hitting moving targets. They don't do overly well at it. So what you could do is just simply keep running your Vanquisher around and hit fire at will on your hover tanks and let the hover tanks come behind it and kill the war horses. You could also use a Scorpion to do the skirting. I'm going to open a nice big hole because I want to be able to get inside without getting delayed. I use Guardians with the Tesla cannon because when it gets close, it'll shut the warhorse down. Oops, that didn't work out so well. Time to move back. So I took a little bit more damage on this one than I would have preferred. Not gonna lie, these war horses they weren't so bad in the first preview, but now that they have the 4, whatever it is, 25 or 35 range, they became a lot more difficult to deal with. See, the shock effect just doesn't even bother them. Back these out, retreat them. So I got some damage on them on this one, but it gives you an idea of how to actually get through this cave. You could legitimately, if you wanted to, probably just go 3 Scorpion King Ops if you want. I prefer using these because I don't want to deal with the last stand defenders. So on that one platoon, I probably took about 2.5 hours of damage. Sometimes you won't get any, sometimes you're going to get some. Depends on just how it works out. Hope that helps. Alright, this is the Tier A Convoy level 80. I usually do this right after the first attack on the cave base. This is actually very simple. The one main thing you have to remember is to double tap or double shock these war horses. The shock doesn't last long. Also, I found it's very important to bring 13 hover tanks with you. Don't skimp, bring them all. I use hover tank commanders. Regular hover tanks will work just fine. Put them into a semicircle pattern. You don't want to get too close to any of the defensive units. Bring the air in. I usually turn them so this way the wingmen are facing towards where I'm going to be going. Alright, so you send in your first set. And now the second set. If you do not send two sets in, those warhorses will activate and they will just absolutely hammer your air right into the ground. And there you go. Using that method, you won't take any damage. Hope that helps. Alright, here we are at the Sentinels 85 River Base. For this, I'm going to use a platoon of hover tanks, a platoon of Scorchers. You could probably just use hover tanks, but I prefer to use my Scorchers for what I'm going to use it for. And we are going to turn on a Scorpion King. Extend it for 2 hours. Make sure Ruby is off. Ruby is not your friend. Alright, so you're going to take Scorpions. You're only going to use one. All you're doing is using the Scorpion to distract, take the hits from the Warhorse. You're just looking to kill the Warhorse with it. That was awfully close. He was definitely coming for me. See, I pull him back. I don't need the Scorchers anymore. I took a tiny bit of damage to one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line these things up, the remaining ones. Forward a bit. This is going to create a wall for them to shoot at, and I'm going to bring the hover tanks in right behind it. Sometimes I take a little damage to the hover tanks, sometimes I don't. What I do is I will hit fire at will, but then I immediately go to control the hovers. You see, you can clean it out pretty fast. Use the Scorpions, take most of the damage. As you saw, I took a little bit of damage to my hover tanks. Most of that will be instant repair. So total repair time that I'll actually have to do is maybe 10-15 minutes. I'm going to bring these in to go over and clear out this other side. You didn't have to worry about taking the power down first, because what you're hitting it with doesn't matter if the power's on or not, because it storms, you're not going to use air. So whether the turrets have power or not really didn't matter. Wait till they start shooting. I absolutely despise these corrosion stingers. They're brutal. If they get your Banshees, the best thing to do is just to end the attack, or you're going to end up with a ton of repair time on your Banshees if you just let it sit on it. And that's it. Let's take a quick peek at the hover tanks and see what actually happened. Yeah, see, I got a tiny bit to those two. That's instant repair. And it didn't even register the damage to those. Alright, I'll be back with the fortress. Alright, this is the fortress base. The nice thing about this base is there's prep time involved without using the Scorpion King, so you can actually start to prep it while you're waiting for your cooldown. The prep involves just using Banshees and missiles. This is the base you will use more missiles on than anything else. Just the nature of the beast. Obviously you're going to come down into this corner here, staying far away from that thing before you shock it. Whether you get damage or not from those, it's hit or miss. Sometimes they won't touch you at all, they'll just shoot at your wingman. Sometimes they'll nail you. Now, next set of missiles are going to go in here, because you want to get that flood out, but you don't want to take a chance on messing around with that. Those war horses, so best thing to do is just knock them out. See, because they will chase you, and if they hit you, it's huge damage. You're basically going to come over here to this side and do the exact same thing. You're going to take out the warhorse, take out the storm, come all the way to the edge. You're a little too close over on this side. So come to the edge and run up the edge. Keep yourself away. Some people don't like the idea of using what ends up being 4 missiles on one base. I'd rather use the missiles than to get my Banshees hit. If you go to hit this particular stronghold, it will key this warhorse to hit it. The best thing is just to pull away and shock it. You're going to knock those warhorses out in a couple minutes with the Scorpions and either your Scorchers, or you could use, see, I just got corroded, end the attack. Avoid as much damage as possible. Scorpion King's ready. Set up a wall as usual with Scorpions to take the abuse. Same as before, I'm going to target one, then I'm going to control. Oops, took a little bit of damage. Get him off. Oh, come on, you know you want to shoot at me. For cleanup work, I prefer just using my hover tanks, because I don't want to have to deal with the last stand defenders and me getting any cheap shots in. But that's it for the fortress. As you see, it's not all that difficult. It just, you have to be willing to use when it comes to 4 shock missiles to keep yourself safe. But I'd rather use the shock missiles than take the damage. Between my Banshees and my main forces, I probably took about 30 minutes on the Banshees and probably instant repair on the Scorchers. So, to me, that's worth 4 missiles. Thorium's cheap. There you go. And that would be the end of these videos. That's all of the tiers. So, good luck. You're going to take a little bit more damage than I did until you get used to it. But once you get into a rhythm, you will figure out what works best for you and how to avoid as much damage as possible. I hope I helped you.